Silence is misunderstood. People think if you're not talking, you're hiding something. If you're quiet, you must be passive, weak, or indifferent. But the truth is, silence isn't a sign of weakness, it's a mark of control. In fact, silence is one of the most strategic, powerful tools you can use in both personal and professional life. The loudest person in the room is rarely the most dangerous. The person who sits back, observes, and listens. That's the one you should be paying attention to. Why? Because silence allows you to gather information. While others are busy talking, trying to impress, explain, overshare, you're collecting data. You're analyzing tone, behavior, inconsistencies, motives. You're reading the room instead of performing for it. In conflict, silence disarms. When you don't react immediately, you don't give away your emotional state. You don't show your hand. That pause, that controlled silence can throw people off balance. It forces them to fill the space, often revealing more than they intended. People are uncomfortable with silence, so they rush to fill it, and in doing so, they make mistakes. They overshare, they expose their insecurities. They hand you the power and they don't even realize it. Silence is also protection. When you speak too quickly, especially in emotionally charged moments, you risk saying something you can't take back. Words can't be unsaid, but silence gives you time. Time to choose your response instead of reacting. Time to observe before you engage. Time to ensure that what you say aligns with your values, your boundaries, and your goals. In negotiations, silence is leverage. You state your position, and then you shut up. The other person will feel pressure to speak, to negotiate against themselves, to give more than they planned. That quiet confidence can't be faked. It shows that you are not desperate. You're not seeking approval. You're not afraid of tension. That makes you powerful. When you move in silence, people can't anticipate your next step. They can't plan against you. They can't sabotage what they don't see coming. Too many people lose momentum by announcing their plans too early, only to be met with doubt, envy, or subtle sabotage. When you keep your intentions close, you protect your ideas while they're still fragile. Not everyone wants to see you win. Silence keeps you safe from those who pretend to support you but quietly hope for your failure. Silence also reveals the truth about others. When you're quiet, you allow people to show you who they really are. You're not interrupting, steering the conversation, or trying to impress. You're watching. You're seeing how they behave when they think you're not a threat. That's when people drop the mask. And that's when you learn who's really in your corner and who just wants to benefit from your noise. We live in a culture that rewards exposure. People post their relationships, their earnings, their trauma, their every move, all for approval from strangers. There's this unspoken belief that openness equals authenticity. But the truth is, there's a difference between being real and being reckless. Boundaries are not barriers, they are filters, and the harsh truth, not everyone deserves access to your life. Just because someone is curious doesn't mean they have the right to know. Just because someone asks doesn't mean you owe them an answer. The moment you stop thinking you need to explain yourself to everyone is the moment you take back control. Access is a privilege, not a right. And you decide who gets it. Too often, people confuse proximity with permission. They think because they work with you, grew up with you, or follow you online, they should be able to weigh in on your choices, your relationships, your growth. That entitlement is a red flag. Pay attention to it. People who respect you won't demand access. They'll earn it through consistency, trust, and discretion. The more people know about you, the more they feel entitled to comment on your life. They'll start forming opinions, projecting their own fears and limitations onto you. They'll insert themselves into situations that have nothing to do with them, and once they feel connected, they'll feel the need to control your choices, your energy, even your identity. That's when boundaries get tested, and if you don't enforce them, you lose a piece of yourself every time you say yes when you mean no. Access also comes with influence, and influence, when given to the wrong person, can be dangerous. You let the wrong voice in, and suddenly you're doubting your path, you're second, guessing your instincts, you're shrinking to fit into someone else's expectations, all because you handed over too much too soon to someone who hadn't earned the right to be in that space. People show you who they are not always immediately, but they do. The problem is, we often reveal too much of ourselves before someone's character has been proven. We confuse charm for loyalty. We mistake attention for care. And we give personal access to people who wouldn't even respect the weight of our truth. Being private is not being cold. It's being smart. It's understanding that you can be kind and still be guarded. You can be open-hearted without being wide open. Protecting your space isn't selfish, it's essential. Your energy, your time, your story, they're valuable. Treat them that way. Everyone wants to be seen, heard, understood. That's human, but chasing that validation by opening every door in your life to anyone who knocks is a quick path to betrayal, burnout, and regret. You need filters. You need discernment. You need the ability to step back and ask, has this person earned the right to know this part of me? There's a dangerous misconception in society that showing emotion makes you fragile, that vulnerability is a liability, that if you let people see how you feel, they'll see you as soft, unstable, or unprofessional. That belief has created a generation of people who bottle everything up, wear emotional masks, and silently suffer behind strong facades. But emotion is not weakness, it's intelligence, it's strength, and when used properly, it's power. Emotions are signals. They are data. When something makes you angry, sad, nervous, or excited, that's your internal system telling you something matters. Something is off, or something is aligned. Ignoring your emotions doesn't make you strong. It just makes you disconnected. It keeps you out of sync with yourself. The people who can process their emotions, understand them, and manage them, those are the ones who move with clarity and purpose. Emotional suppression is often mistaken for control, but shutting down your feelings is not the same as mastering them. In fact, people who constantly suppress what they feel usually end up exploding when the pressure gets too high in the wrong place, at the wrong time, with the wrong people. There's nothing powerful about pretending not to care. That's not strength, that's avoidance. And avoidance builds walls, not resilience. Strength is being able to sit with discomfort, to allow yourself to feel pain, disappointment, or sadness without letting those feelings define you. It's being able to admit, this hurt me, or I'm not okay, without falling apart. That's not drama, that's honesty. And people who know how to be honest with themselves emotionally are the ones who build authentic lives, because they aren't living in denial. The key is emotional discipline, not emotional denial. You don't need to broadcast your emotions to everyone, and not everyone deserves to hear your pain. But suppressing your emotions for the sake of appearing strong makes you more vulnerable, not less. It leaves you open to burnout, to emotional manipulation, to poor decisions driven by bottled-up pressure. Emotional maturity is what protects you. It's what allows you to respond rather than react. There's also a difference between being emotional and being emotionally aware. The first might look chaotic, the second is strategic. Emotional awareness allows you to read a room, to understand intentions, to detect lies, to build trust, to lead with empathy. It lets you connect to people without losing yourself. That's not soft, that's sharp. That's a skill that can't be faked and can't be taught in a textbook. It comes from facing your own emotional truths, not running from them. People often weaponize emotion to discredit others. Especially women, especially leaders, "You're too sensitive," "You're overreacting," "Don't take it personally." These are phrases used to shut people down to minimize valid responses. But being able to stand your ground while still being in tune with how you feel doesn't make you irrational. It makes you human with a spine. In a world where people equate visibility with value, keeping things to yourself becomes a form of self-defense. There's power in privacy, especially when it comes to your wealth and your next move. Not because you're hiding something, but because exposure invites scrutiny, expectation, and often quiet sabotage. The less people know, the less they can manipulate, interfere, or plot against. Talking about money openly might seem empowering, but there's a fine line between transparency and vulnerability. When people know exactly how much you earn, what you own, or what you're about to do next, they begin to form narratives sometimes subtle, sometimes hostile. They compare, they calculate, they judge. Some feel entitled to your success. Others begin to compete where there's no competition, and a few will look for opportunities to undermine you. Jealousy doesn't always show up loud. It often wears the face of concern, criticism, or unsolicited advice. Wealth is more than what sits in your bank account. It's also your access, your knowledge, your relationships, and your influence. All of that needs protection. The more visible you become, the more you become a target not just for attention, but for manipulation, expectation, and opportunism. People begin to attach their needs to your resources. They expect favors. They assume you're fine and stop checking in. Some only come close to see what they can extract. And when it comes to your next move, whether it's a business decision, a personal transformation, or a relationship shift, the most strategic thing you can do is move quietly. Broadcasting your plans doesn't make them more legitimate. It makes them more vulnerable. Early-stage goals are like seedlings, fragile and easily damaged by harsh conditions. The wrong opinion, a moment of doubt, or unnecessary exposure can stunt growth before it even begins. People talk prematurely about what they're planning, thinking it will generate support. But often, what it attracts is resistance. The moment you announce change, people start projecting their own fears onto it. They'll tell you it's risky, they'll remind you of everything that could go wrong, and more often than not, their feedback is based on what they couldn't do, not what you're capable of. That kind of noise kills momentum. Confidence doesn't need a microphone. Real power is quiet, deliberate, and strategic. When people can't figure out what you're doing, they can't prepare a response. They can't block you, copy you, or derail you. Mystery protects potential. It keeps people focused on what you've done, not what you're about to do. That creates leverage. It keeps you unpredictable. And in a world where everyone's trying to get ahead, unpredictability is one of your strongest assets. You don't need to prove your success by announcing it. Let your lifestyle speak for itself. Let your results confirm what your words never had to say. When people are left guessing, they spend less time interfering and more time watching. Dreams are personal. They're fragile in their early stages, delicate ideas born from instinct, desire, and sometimes pain. They don't come fully formed. They come as quiet whispers, subtle visions, or fleeting thoughts you try to hold onto before life rushes in and distracts you. That's why dreams, especially the sacred ones, the ones that define your identity, your purpose, your future, require protection. They need room to grow, and that means not everyone gets to see them. There's a reason why some of the most successful people in the world move in silence while they build. When a dream is exposed too early, it becomes subject to too many voices. Suddenly, your vision is surrounded by noise, opinions, doubts, projections, and fear disguised as advice. People don't always intend harm, but not everyone can see what you see. Not everyone can believe in something they can't yet touch. And if you're not careful, their limitations will become your hesitation. Ideas need incubation. Just like a seed needs soil, warmth, and quiet before it breaks through the ground, your dreams need space away from judgment, pressure, and external validation. Sharing them too early can lead to premature critique, and critique too soon can strip you of momentum. The wrong comment from the wrong person at the wrong time can make you second, guess everything. There's also an energy to dreams of fire that comes with the first spark of inspiration. It's pure, untouched. But that energy gets diluted when it's spread thin. When you're constantly explaining yourself or defending your choices, you're not building, you're just reacting. That drains you. It takes time away from the actual work. The more you talk about what you're going to do, the less time you spend doing it. People often overshare their dreams out of excitement. It's human. You want to be seen. You want someone to tell you it's possible. But sacred dreams need sacred spaces, environments where your vision is respected, your silence is honored, and your growth is supported without pressure. These are spaces where you can fail privately, recalibrate, and try again without judgment. Not every room is safe for that. Not every person is safe for that. It's not about secrecy. It's about discernment, knowing who's earned the right to witness your evolution, knowing who will hold your dream with care rather than reduce it to a casual conversation. Because once your dream is out in the world, it's no longer just yours, it's shared, discussed, and dissected, and not all of that attention is healthy. Protecting your dream is an act of discipline. It requires you to be selective, focused, and at peace with moving quietly. The more sacred the dream, the more sacred the space needs to be. That space might be solitude. It might be a small circle. It might just be the pages of a notebook, but it's yours, and it's where the real work happens. Real confidence doesn't announce itself. It doesn't walk into a room demanding attention, trying to be the most seen or the most heard. It doesn't need to compete for validation or prove its worth through volume. True confidence is quiet, it's steady, it's rooted in self-awareness, not performance. And often, it shows up in the calmest, most composed individuals, the ones who aren't trying to dominate the space, but who own it effortlessly. Loudness is often mistaken for strength. People who talk the most, interrupt the most, or draw the most attention are frequently perceived as powerful. But in reality, loudness can be a cover. It can signal insecurity, a need for external approval, or a deep discomfort with silence. Confidence isn't about how many people are watching you, it's about how well you know yourself when no one is. The person who is truly confident doesn't need everyone to agree with them. They're not shaken by criticism, nor are they fueled by praise. They don't constantly explain themselves or overcompensate to prove their worth. Their validation comes from within. They've done the inner work. They've earned their self-respect through experience, failure, learning, and persistence. And that kind of self-respect doesn't require noise. Confident people also listen more than they speak. They're not threatened by other perspectives. They don't need to dominate every conversation or remind people of their accomplishments. Instead, they observe, absorb, and speak with intention. When they do speak, it's deliberate, measured, effective, because they understand that words are currency and they don't spend them carelessly. You can feel real confidence. It's in body language, in tone, in the way someone holds eye contact without trying to intimidate. It's in how someone stands their ground without aggression. It's in how they handle disagreement without losing composure. Loudness often escalates, but confidence knows how to de-escalate. It diffuses tension. It doesn't seek to overpower. It seeks to understand and to lead. People who are loud about their confidence often rely on comparison. They need someone else to look smaller so they can feel bigger. But someone who's truly confident doesn't need to shrink anyone else to take up space. They don't need to be the smartest in the room, they just need to know they belong in it. Quiet confidence builds trust. In leadership, it inspires. In relationships, it provides security. In conflict, it brings clarity. There's a strength in stillness that loudness can't replicate. The ability to remain grounded when things are chaotic, to stay focused when everyone else is chasing attention. That's the kind of presence people remember. Confidence isn't about the spotlight. It's about presence. It's about self-trust. It's about knowing who you are, what you bring to the table, and not needing to prove it constantly. Some of the most powerful people move silently, make decisions without broadcast, and let their impact speak long after they've left the room.